It is a big ass week here in Miami Hurricanes land as the Canes are going up to Tallahassee to take on the Florida State Seminoles. Canes FSU week. Let's go out to the Toyota of Hollywood guest line. Shop hundreds of Toyotas indoors in one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. They will find former Miami Hurricanes quarterback Malik Rosier, who does a fantastic job covering the Canes. You guys can listen to him post-game after every Canes game with Alex Dono. Malik, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
Nah, thank you guys for having me. I always love, hopping on with you guys. It's always a great time talking to you.
This look, man, you got one of the iconic Canes FSU games. Like you snapped a big losing streak. What was the level of goosies when you pulled off that victory against FSU? That one has to be an all-time career one that always sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, it definitely does. I was born in Tallahassee. Most of my family lives in Tallahassee. So to go there and get a win after, 7 years of kind of going back and forth and watching, Brad Kaya before me, unfortunately, lose those games late in the fourth quarter. That's kind of what, we had to deal with. And, the biggest thing I always tell people about these games is it is emotional. It's something that, like, when you see the team across from you, you hate them. But, at least for us, our biggest thing was take the emotion out of it. Focus on executing, focus on how we can get better snap after snap. And at the end of the day, if you accumulate more winning snaps, usually you wind up winning the game. So I know there's going to be a ton of emotion, a ton of hype. You're going to have guys flying around, doing their job. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing is after, that first hit, you got to take the emotion out of it. You got to basically play pure football. So I'm excited. I think, there's a lot of areas where we are really good at. But obviously, a lot of it's going to come down to our quarterback play as, in this type of offense that Dawson has, the QB play is very important.
What have you thought, Malik, of just since they started ACC play? There's been such a roller coaster between the whole kneeling thing. It's been the tough ride against UNC. Then they pull off the overtime win. There's been so many closely contested games. So I guess in the meat of this season, after once they entered conference play, what have been your impressions so far of the team going into this week?
Yeah, I would say if and I know obviously the quarterback has had a lot of spotlight, but really if you take the quarterback out, I think across the board you're seeing improvement everywhere from the D linemen to the linebackers, secondary receivers. Obviously, we have one of the best offensive line play. You're seeing a lot of freshmen, Ruben Bain, Mark Fletcher. You're seeing a lot of young guys playing. So I would say for the most part, we're taking huge strides. I know obviously some of the losses that we have, I think are annoying because we shouldn't have lost those games. I think there's a difference in, losing a game because the team just played better than you and then losing a game because you just constantly hurt yourself throughout 4 quarters. And I think that's what a lot of the feeling is. And to me, I think that's the most disappointing part is that, you see the work that a lot of these guys are putting in the off season that is finally, coming to fruition. I mean, I remember last year we struggled heavily with open field tackling. Now I feel like there's a guy catches the ball in the open field. He's not going to break it for, 30, 40 yards. Obviously, we've had a couple big games, but for the most part, we've done a lot better job. So I still say they're improving. I know that a lot of people, want to find something bad about it, but, I would basically say outside of the quarterback play over the last, couple of weeks, the team technically has improved substantially from last year.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing Coach Cristobal this week because it sounded kind of non-committal on what he wants to do at QB. And we were just talking about this before you came on, Malik. I don't know what the right answer is because TBD is your guy. He has been, highly touted, but he's obviously going through some struggles right now. And I don't know how great a position it is to start a young QB in a rivalry game on the road, how tough that is. I imagine that's got to be unbelievably nerve-wracking. So what do you think the right decision is between this quarterback position? Because it does feel right now, I don't know if he's banged up. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know, but it does feel like it's holding them back a little bit right now.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I've been saying this for a while. So if he is banged up, you got to hold him out. I think he's someone that when injuries occur, he just doesn't play at his best. And I don't know many people that do play at their best when they're injured. So if that is one, you got to kind of protect him and kind of what you're doing. But if not, to me, I know fans are going to be mad. I think you have to go with Tyler. I think with experience, with some of the stuff they're going to do, I think he's probably your best bet to at least start. Now, I will say if things keep going the way they are and he has multiple turnovers in the first half, and I think that's a decision for the coaching staff to make. Do we keep playing him? Do we pull him? But, I will say for a lot of these guys, this is a game you circle. This is a game that if you are a gamer, if you are a competitor, if you love Miami, this is the game that you come here for. And so I think, before we try to do a quarterback change, I at least think that you should give him the right to at least try to play this one out and see how he does. Obviously, at any point you can go to a change. That's their decision. But I think it would be harder for them to put in, Emery or Jakari, let's say one of them do bad. And then in the second half, but okay, now Tyler, now we're going to put you back in. I don't think mentally he'll even be in the game by that point. So, obviously they can do whatever decision they want. That's why they get paid the big bucks. But for me, I would at least start Tyler and say, hey, this is our standard. We got to score at least, 14 to 20 points in the first half. If you can't do that, then I'll find someone that can. But I obviously think Tyler's very capable. I don't think the physical ability has ever been his problem. I mean, he's big, he's strong, he is smart. He can make every throw. I mean, he can make throws that, I wasn't able to make even in college. So that part, at least of his game, is fine. To me, it's more about calming down, understanding where all your reads are. And I think a combination of, just Dawson also kind of finding what Tyler is best at. So they got to figure it out, but I would at least start Tyler. And then if things go south, then, maybe do a quarterback change some way, but that's obviously for the coaching staff to decide.
What do you think it is, Malik, with him? Do you, like, if you had to guess, if you had to put a percentage on physical, mental, like, do you feel like it's a little bit of both? Do you feel like he is banged up? I know there were reports he was dealing with something earlier on in the year and having things wrapped up, but a lot of people are wondering too, like, is the physical affecting the mental? What do you think is the thing missing with him right now?
Yeah, well, I will say that the physical definitely affects the mental, for sure. Like I know guys that come back from surgery or things like that. You see them not cut or plant right, and when someone, maybe tweaks a leg or something, they don't. Especially for us, like I was saying that, the knee that was braced up and wrapped up was his right knee, where your back leg is where you generate most of your power from. So as you guys have seen, a lot of his throws have been under. And so it's like things like that he got to understand, okay, because I'm losing power in my right leg, when I go on game day and throw, I need to overcompensate. I need to make sure that I'm missing him in front by 4 or 5 yards. So when I don't have the normal power, maybe instead of being 100%, you're at 90 because your leg's messed up. We've already compensated. And so I think that some of that can be it. But I also think some of it is mental, at least when we've talked, a lot of it's been like, I need to go out there, have fun. I think that's half of it. I think he's putting so much pressure on himself to be perfect, to be, 19 for 19 with 300 or 400 yards. I think he needs to go out there and just have fun. I think that's half of it. I've definitely been in spots to where like I was so just obsessed with the game and I wanted to be this perfectionist that I didn't just relax, have fun, and kind of just go ball. I mean, when you think about him in 2021, he seemed not stressed. He seemed like he was going out there and having fun. He was kind of just playing football, and that's kind of what he has to get back to win. And so I think that's a big part of it, is just understanding that this is a game. And obviously I know he loves it. But a lot of it is him just going out there and having fun and not trying to be this perfectionist every snap.
Yeah, they always say like rivalry games, you can kind of throw out the records, and the Knowles right now in the college football playoff ranking, and the Canes. The season has been filled with some frustrations because you feel like you have lost some games you shouldn't have. Do you feel like they have the talent to hang in this game and can pull this one out, or are the Knowles just a little bit too above their weight class right now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I know a lot of people have a lot of, eyes on Keon Coleman. And I obviously think he'll make some plays. Like to me, he's just too good of an athlete to not make plays. There's just certain players that, they're just too good. But to me, I think the biggest thing is going to be stopping the run. I think after they've watched UNC and how they were able to put up 40 plus points, a lot of that came from establishing the run game. Trey Benson is a really good back. He can actually catch it out the backfield. I showed a clip of him, catching basically a back shoulder wheel route with the guy man coverage right on his hip. And so I think that he's going to be an X factor for us that, a lot of people are overlooking just because he hasn't, been as big as Keon in some of the catches and the highlights. But I think as far as that part, I think we're fine as long as we can minimize, their attempts and drives. I think, not having consecutive 3 and outs really help us. I think this is going to be a game where we're really going to have to control the clock with our run game, being smart, with how we get in third down. You can't be in third and long. You got to be in third and manageable, make them get into predictable coverages like one rat or one lurk, which is what they really like to run. I think sometimes when we get into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, that's when you see the, 3 down linemen drop 8 with these exotic coverages behind it because they're not necessarily worried about you running the ball at that point. So I think a lot of it's that. And I'll also say this, if TBD is the quarterback, I think one thing about him is that he likes to take deep ball shots. So I think, at least from my eyes, what I've seen the last couple of weeks is that we've taken some shots, but it's been like 1 out of every like 10 to 12 plays. There's one shot. A lot of it's been like check downs or, run plays or the RPO kind of game. To me, I think he's a guy that at least 1 every 4 to 5 snaps. There needs to be at least a go or a post somewhere tagged along. Because I'll be honest with you, if you're a guy that likes to compete, most of the time the best balls, the highlight balls, or deep balls, goes, posts, comebacks, whatever. But if I know I don't have that, and then the one time that I get it, it's been taking me 10 or 15 plays to get to it, I might be a little more antsy to kind of fit a ball in or throw a whole shot or things of that nature. So I think, revving up how many deep shots, revving up more full verticals, revving up, more post cross, things like that. To give Tyler consistent chunk yardage. So where like he doesn't feel like, hey, on this 1st and 10, if I don't throw this post, the next 2 plays is going to be a run and a run, or a run and, a stick play, something like that. And that's kind of the way I feel like this offense is slowly ran. So I think for him, if you're going to have him out there, he is a deep ball thrower. That's what he likes. So I think, dialing some of the deeper routes up will actually help his confidence.
Talking to Malik Rosier here, former Miami Hurricanes quarterback. Go check out his YouTube page. Does a fantastic job breaking all this stuff down. Now you got a giveaway for some of the fans out there interested for this, Malik. You want to tell us our audience about this?
Yeah, so I have a business partner named Mike Murphy, and he's actually working with, Bubba Bolden, who everyone knows, and even Tate Martell. But long story short, if you go to Kingmakers Tampa on Twitter, if you guys go ahead and quote on that, all you do is say yes or no. So basically the question is, should Mike Murphy and Bubba Bolden create a podcast by Thursday, which is tomorrow at 12? We're going to reveal the winners for Twitter. You can do the same thing on Instagram. All you got to do is comment on it. It's still Kingmakers Tampa. And then if you guys have LinkedIn, we're going to do it on LinkedIn as well. So we have 6 tickets that we're giving away through 3 different, social media platforms. And we even have another 2 that we're going to find a unique way, probably this afternoon, to give away another 2. So we have 8 in total. But those are 3 ways to at least get 2 tickets. I'm pretty sure there's section like 15, row 74-ish. So there's some pretty good seats. We have our own box. So the seats that we got are from box level. So they should be some pretty good seats, and they'll be obviously surrounded by Miami fans. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like the atmosphere, Malik, when you get the just seeing that crowd and taking that in, like, what is that like, man? Like knowing that this is like the heightened one, both fan bases usually are around each other. The players usually know each other from childhood and things like that. It just, when you take that all in, when you go out there for these kind of games, what are the feelings that overcome you and things like that?
I would say first, like usually for me, I get chills that go down my body. That's usually the first thing that happens. I would say second, like this is why you play college football. This is why you come to Miami. And then I would say lastly, to me, it's more about shutting people up, because in Miami, to be honest with you, I've actually ran into a ton of FSU fans. And so you hear them every year, you walk past them, they'll say like "Go Noles" and hit you with the "oh." Well, then once you beat them, you're able to walk up when you see them and throw up the "you" in their face and just keep walking. And so to me, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of, you have a year. It doesn't matter what they say to you. They can't say anything for that entire year. Obviously now I'm more on like the fan side of it. So like I actually see how much trolling and how much back and forth kind of goes into it. And so I think it is a lot of that. Obviously, I wasn't raised in Florida, but a lot of these guys are. So there are guys from Miami that are up there. So I know for them, it was definitely a lot more personal, for sure. But, from a young age, I was a Miami fan. And so I definitely took that game personal as well.
Before we get you out of here, Malik, the big college football story is this whole sign stealing scandal from Michigan. Leroy is not here, so I feel free to ask this. What do you make of all of this? This whole sign stealing thing from Michigan? Should they throw the book at them? Do we need to see this all play out? Because this is wild. You got the guy in disguise on the other sideline. All the schools seem very pissed. I don't know what the right answer is, but this just seems bananas. The kind of lengths they went to kind of go about getting other teams' signals.
Yeah, and to me, I think that's the biggest part of it. It was, the length that you had to go. Whenever, you have pre-made signals for the signal guys on the other team, to me, that's above and beyond. So, I played baseball. I was a catcher for a while. I think from a young age, you kind of understand, hey, if there's a guy on second base and you just put down one finger to show it's a fastball, he might communicate that to his teammate. Like, I'll be honest with you, in high school, we did that. We had ways that once we kind of figured out, hey, when he touches his head first, it's a fastball. He touches his chest first, it's a curveball. He touches his knee first, it's a changeup. Like, sometimes the catchers would touch their body parts as like signals. And it's the same way in football. Like, you can kind of see the signal guy. If you're smart enough in game within those 3 hours to figure it out, relay it, and then translate it to your defense, that's just you having a smart guy. But when you're sending people out, you're watching stuff like, even in like 2016, when Brad was a starter, there'd be times for me, like all I would do would watch the secondary. So I'd find their best safety. I'd watch his signals. And if every time he pointed to the sky, they'd go cover 2, I would tell Brad, hey, Brad, if you see the safety point to the sky, it's cover 2. That's fair game. You know what I mean? That's you in game, learning, adjusting, and figuring out how to like produce. But to me, I think if you're pre-planning, you're spending, a week to 2 weeks prior, getting all the film in, matching signals to plays, and then doing things like that. to me, it's hard, whenever you're talking about these kids only having to learn the signals each week, the playbook's slowly going to change. And on top of that, these kids have classes. So they're also learning stuff from the school books. So they're not just football players. Not like they can spend all day just studying the new changes of play calling. And so to me, I think that's the part that is missing. And when you talk about like OCs and DCs, to me, most offenses are the same. Like they'll have their tweaks, but you'll see like common plays that come through our offense and defenses. The biggest thing to me that separates good OCs and DCs is what they call in third down and obviously fourth, and what they call in the red zone. But if I'm an OC or DC and I know what you're going to call, that gives me a huge unfair advantage. So if I know it's 3rd and 2 and you're about to pass the ball, well, I'm not going to load the box to give you a good look. I'm going to play more of a blanket coverage and make it very hard on you. So that's kind of where I think in certain situations, it does give Michigan a huge unfair advantage, especially talking about current situations, third, red zone, things like that, where they kind of know what to expect.
We appreciate the time, Malik. Always great on the show. And do you want to tell us one more time where people can go to win Canes FSU tickets?
Yeah, so it is on Twitter, it is on Instagram, and it will be on LinkedIn. It is Kingmakers Tampa. Again, all you got to do on Twitter is quote, on Instagram, comment on the photo, and then on LinkedIn, they have it up there. It's going to tell you the answer. That is it. There's 2 tickets per site, and then we got another 2 that will come out later. We'll tell you guys how it's going to come out.